Let's move on to a completely different game, Forza Motorsport, without a numeral, just to mess with you. It's been 6 years since the last Forza Motorsport, which is kind of nuts to me.
That is crazy.
There was a time where it was just like 1 year was Motorsport, 1 year was Horizon. And I think that happened for like 3 or 4 years, like where they went on and off like that. Forza Motorsport 7 was a weird one to stop on because it was like a good game, but it was a game at a time where loot boxes were such a big thing, and it was infested with that sort of stuff, like loot boxes for rewards and like cards that you could get from loot boxes that could then be modifiers for it was just like a complete mess of that sort of shit that got in the way of actual racing. Forza Motorsport streamlines everything. Like there is none of that. This is a honest to God racing game first and something interesting else second. But when you are racing, Forza Motorsport feels incredible. Like I said it on Twitter, but I don't think I've played a better feeling simulation racer or just a racing game in general of this kind ever. Like especially if you're playing on controller, I think they've done a lot of work to make that experience really good, because I think simulation racing games are always better on a nice big wheel and pedal setup. And the controller hasn't always been an afterthought, but it's never felt nearly as good. Like I felt very at home on a controller now and very much like competitive on a controller, which is really nice.
Yeah.
So the big change for Forza Motorsport, aside from it looking fantastic, like cars look really, really good. The weather effects are really good. But the big change is this sort of light RPG mode that has been intertwined with the career mode. So the career mode is kind of familiar. You have lots of like championships, and inside those championships are multiple events, and each event is a collection of like a handful of races. So for example, there could be a championship that is like the introductory championship, and the first event is cool. You can only choose cars from these consumer German manufacturers like BMW or VW or stuff like that. Then the second event is like, okay, now it's only supercars from this subset. And then you race again. You race in events where all the other races are pulling from that same subset. None of this is particularly new to Forza Motorsport. It's just like that's what it is. The difference is that when you go to an event and you need to typically pick a new car to enter that event with, you're exposed to this RPG progression system that is tied to every single car that you purchase. So every time you use a car in any event, this extends to like multiplayer, free play, time trials, and then the career mode. Anytime you use a car, you accrue XP towards that car. And the XP is rewarded for like taking corners well, or acing a sector, or overtakes, or clean races, or just like racing.
Everything.
Just perfecting your racecraft is rewarded with XP. And as you level up your car, you unlock categories of parts that you can then upgrade. So the path for every car is kind of this. It is the same. Like every car at level, say 5, will unlock the ability to edit their gear ratios. I don't know. I can't actually remember what it was at level 5, but that's as an example. Every car is like that. But when you get to that stage, you can then use a currency called car points, which is also accrued by just using your car, and use that to basically install these upgrades to your car and increase like handling and speed and braking and whatever. And between every single race, because you are consistently leveling up your car at a rapid pace and earning these points, you're constantly like tinkering with your setup and finding the right balance for the events that you're in, and more pertinently, like your driving style. Like, do you enjoy like a bigger emphasis on handling and braking than top speed because you like going into corners like really hard and turning hard, stuff like that. And I found that it helped me develop a really good relationship with each and every car that I was using, because every car that I bought for every new event was like stock. and you could immediately feel, coming from a fully like upgraded car, irrespective of what category of car it was, like a big difference between that and a new stock car that you can now like see as a blank slate. And then 2 or 3 races later, you can, tangibly feel the effects of the upgrades you've installed. And it just feels like a cool way to progress through the story with each and every car that you buy. So I really like that system. I think Turn 10 understood that some people would not be keen on this. And so they allow you to kind of automate this process. So you can't turn off the RPG-ness, but you can say, cool, between every race, I'm just going to hit X and it's going to configure the best, like, it's going to auto spec for me based on the points that I have.
Okay.
And then like show me what stats changed, and I hit okay, and it goes. And most of the time I use that system, it spats out a really good like configuration that I ended up using. So I think that's a totally viable way to play. It's also cool that the points that you accrue aren't like, you're not spending a currency that is gone. It is like a pool of points that you can just, you can sort of just respec at any point, and then it just refunds you all those points, and then you can choose to take your car in a different direction, if that makes sense. So also none of this like takes away from the very simulation heavy tuning that you can do to your car, where you can like adjust brake biases and gear ratios and percentages of this and percentages of that, like the stuff that really big enthusiasts get excited about, because it allows them to make small tweaks that will make a big impact on the track for them when they are racing at that level. That stuff's all there. That stuff is not locked off by any car levels or whatever. You have access to that from the get-go. So that's like,
that would be
don't
hilarious.
worry about that.
To level 50.
No, that'd be a bad time. I've seen, anecdotally, I've read now that a lot of the reviews are out, that a lot of people didn't, or a lot of critics didn't like the RPG system in the way that I did. I saw some complaints that it takes really long to level up cars. I did not find that at all. I was hitting like, I can for sure say from race 1 stock to after that first race, I was up by like 10, 15 plus levels.
Sure.
Like it's absurd how quickly you unlock cars, and it has to be because there are over 500 cars in this game.
Yeah.
Like if Turn 10 is going to encourage you to play with a huge swath of cars, that cannot make it feel like you're grinding for hours on every car. Like, so
what is the max level of a car out of interest?
50.
The 50.
Mistaken,
okay. 500 50, times 50. Yeah. Let's go. Please don't let there be an achievement tied to that.
I saw one review that basically said like, oh, it takes like multiple hours to max out a car. And I'm just like, no. I don't know if I'm like doing far more practice sessions or just like focusing on an upgrade. Like I just, that's not what I experienced at all. Not even close. So yeah, take that with, that's my experience. Anyway,
nice. The
career mode's cool. I really, really like it. The multiplayer modes are pretty awesome as well. The core multiplayer is called featured multiplayer, which is kind of a weird name, but they're kind of trying to replicate the idea of a race weekend where they have these events that are happening in real time, and you have to enter an event before the race essentially starts globally. And then when you enter a race, you have access to like a practice session where you can do practice laps and flying laps, a qualifying session, which then determines your starting place on the grid, and then the actual feature race. And I think it's cool that they've done this because it makes each one feel like an event. It's not just like a playlist or a find me a match that you've hit on. It's like a thing you actively have to think about joining, and everyone around the world has joined at that exact same time. It's nice. It's kind of cool. I like Rivals a lot. This is a returning mode from Forza Motorsport. Well, it's been in a few of them actually, but essentially you get chucked on a track with a cars. Most of the time, the events are split up into classes of cars, so like E class, D class, C class, and up. And you are just trying to set the fastest one lap time against other people around the world. So as soon as you set a lap time, it will match you with someone who is just slightly faster, and then you'll be racing their ghost.
That's
yeah,
cool.
and then if you beat them, it immediately kicks you into a new lap with like a new ghost. So you can just spend. The other day I spent like an hour just doing this, I was just going around the track because every lap I was just getting better because like I was understanding the track. I was like pushing limits in certain places, and it was just super, super fun.
Nice.
There's
awesome.
limited time events in Rivals now as well, where instead of choosing a bunch of cars from a class, you're given a car and everyone is given the exact same car to do times. I like that a lot more because I know I'm on a level playing field with everyone. Whereas when it's class based, it's like, should I choose this car? Should I choose that car? Also, like, what upgrades does a guy have on his car? Because you bring those into multiplayer.
Why is my C-class car just not holding up against this S-tier car? I mean,
I know, it's just absolutely crazy. So yeah, I think there's a lot of content on offer. The one place that I'm a bit bummed about is at least the number of tracks at launch. So there's 14 tracks, but technically there's 20 circuits because some tracks have alternate layouts. You know, like if you've got slow ass cars and you're on a long ass track, they don't want you driving for 8 minutes.
4 hours later.
Yeah, exactly. I just think it like immediately feels like too little. Especially in the career mode, it didn't take long for me to be like, oh wow, I'm racing Pierre again, like okay. And then I went into free play and cycled through all of them, and I was like, oh, there's just very few tracks, like, and there's like weird emissions. So the Nürburgring is not there, which is like a pretty classic track.
That's typically a staple in a lot of racing games.
Yeah. Yas Marina circuit, the Formula One circuit in Abu Dhabi, is not there. There's actually not a single currently used Formula One circuit from Italy in the game. They have a track in Italy in Mugello, but they do not have Imola or Monza, which I find very, very strange. But there are cool tracks like Silverstone in the UK is there, really great track. My personal favorite, Suzuka in Japan. Fantastic track. There are a lot of American tracks that I've never heard of or raced on, and then some fictitious tracks that have been staples in the Forza Motorsport.
Wakanda.
Definitely racing through Wakanda.
Make that track.
There's one called Maple Valley, which was actually in the very first Forza Motorsport. That's still here. It's the first track you race on. It's gorgeous. I think it's cool. Nice. And we get Kyle Lamy for the very first time. Pretty cool, so. Yeah, representation of South Africa. Was really cool racing around there, given that it's of the tracks in the game, the only track I've actually been in a car around. So that was really, really fun.
Wow, just like this is.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, geez. Amazing. No, well, I remember going around that track with an actual, honest to God, professional driver and crapping myself.
And just shitting your pants.
Man, people fucking attack those corners. Oh my, people don't drive normal. Yeah, I mean, Forza Motorsport is the reason it doesn't have a numeral at the end of the name is because it's being set up as this live platform that Turn 10 will just add content to over time. I think a lot of games are going this way, like Call of Duty's doing it, Assassin's Creed is doing it. They just want one launcher.
I'm speaking shit.
Halo Infinite was meant to do this, but it seems like that's not happening anymore. But you get what I mean. This is like, this could be what was it? Flight Simulator. Yeah, Flight Simulator is a good example of Microsoft's like approach to this sort of thing. Like they are just bringing out a ton of new content to Flight Simulator soon, and I'm pretty sure that's the model Forza Motorsport is going to follow. I know that a couple of tracks are coming this year already, like the Yas Marina circuit, the one I mentioned not being there, is like out next month.
Okay.
And I think the Nürburgring is coming next year, they announced, or something like that. So I'm pretty sure they're going to be updating this over time, which is cool.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's good that what's here at launch is still really solid. I had a stupidly good time with this game. More fun than I expected to have, to be entirely honest, because like I like simulation racing games. I much prefer arcadey ones. I love the Forza Horizon series, for example, because of that. But I've always had a soft spot in my heart for Forza Motorsport. And I'm just super glad that this series after 6 years is back in a way that I think is really, really strong. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see where they go with this in the future.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense as like you mentioned, it's a game they're going to keep supporting. And it almost like... I don't think this is at all what the intention was, but it makes sense to then, only release 16 tracks, because then you can stagger out the release and, keep...
You can't have like 40 tracks like Forza Motorsport or 33 tracks like Forza Motorsport 7 at launch and then be like, okay, well, what's next? There's only so many tracks in the world.
Now play the game for 5 years.
Yeah, exactly. No, I get that. Yeah. But yeah, I guess it was just kind of a weird one to see laid out bare. I was like, I expected there to be a bit more. But yeah, I mean, if it means that over time I will keep coming back because they keep adding tracks, that's good.
Yeah. Cool. That's Forza, not Forza.
Forza
Don't be
Motorsport.
Forza Motorsport.